But no, we're thrilled to have you guys here. We're now one big WKYC sports family, so this won't be the last time you see Nick and Chris on the program. Nick's going to join us for the first two topics here. So let's dive right in.
All right.
When we were getting the rundown ready for today's show, I texted both Chris and Nick and said, hey, we want to cater this to make sure you guys feel as comfortable as possible in your debut. Do you have anything you're got a hot take on that you want to express? And Nick sent back a text that said, I am convinced, and not me, Nick Camino, Nick is convinced that Todd Monken convinced ownership during his interview process that he can fix and/or save Deshaun Watson, and his non-committal to Shedeur Sanders up until this point in the process is further proof of that. Nick, would you like to explain that scathing hot take?
Well, I mean, my whole thing is, listen, Todd Monken's 59 years old. He knows that this was his last opportunity to get a head coaching job. This was pretty much it. And this is a guy who's paid his dues. You think about a guy that started at Southern Miss, worked the coordinator game, right? Was in the NFL with the Browns, went back to Georgia. You know, was always trying to get to land that job. And to his credit, he got that job. But I do think there's certain things that you say in an interview process when you're trying to land a job that might make ownership, who has committed a lot of money to Deshaun Watson, that you can probably fix him. And his non-commitment to Shedeur Sanders makes me feel like there might be something here where he told ownership, who has spent a lot of time, they've invested a lot of money into Deshaun Watson, he's still under contract, that he has said, you know what, Jimmy and D, and Andrew, and whoever else is making the calls over there, I can fix this guy. I can fix this guy, and I think that he can have success in my offense. I've proven that. And I think that ownership kind of signed up for that. And Dustin knows this too. When you're drafted by a certain regime, when you're signed by a certain regime, when you are paid by a certain regime, they have a connection to you where they're going to give you an opportunity. So I don't think the days of Deshaun Watson are over with. I don't know if he's going to start day one, but the non-commitment to Shedeur has made me say, yeah, maybe there is some legs here, and he thinks he can fix Deshaun. He convinced ownership of that, and this is going to happen. We're going to see this guy again.
So then I have a question for you, just to follow up on that. Do you think that if he plays, that he'll play well?
That's a great question. I don't know. Who knows what you're going to get? The sample size in Cleveland would say no, but you're looking at now an offensive line that is hopefully beginning to get fixed, and I think they should do more in the NFL draft. But I feel like, finally they're doing some things now that may allow him to have success. The one thing I'll say about Shedeur Sanders, and I am like the only person that is not in this crazy debate of I'm in the Shedeur camp, I'm not in the Shedeur camp. He's had no offensive line. He's made some unbelievable throws, but he's also holding on to the ball too long, and he's a fifth-round pick. Yeah. So I don't know where we're at on him, but I can tell you he hasn't had any receivers. He hasn't had anybody to throw to, and the offensive line has been old and beat up. So I just don't know how you can sit here and say how you can make an assessment on Shedeur. But to Dustin's question, we don't know. We don't know. But I do think that there is something there where Monken has told people, hey, listen, yeah, I can fix this guy. He probably, because he's done it at such a high level for a long time, he probably believes he can do that.
It's just a little scary because if he does play him and start him and he plays above average or halfway decent, then you put the organization in a really tricky spot because we've already moved past all of the
downsides,
wounds that we've had. The money, everything's kind of been put behind us, and then we'd almost like rip off the Band-Aid and open up that wound again. And then if he plays well, we're not giving this guy any more money.
No, you're not going to give him.
But you would. But if he played well, you'd have to consider it.
But if he plays well, at least you have a competent quarterback for 2026. And I'm not saying Shedeur can't be, but if Deshaun gets that opportunity and does play well,
but doesn't
it's not a bad thing for the Browns.
But Mikey, doesn't it take away from Shedeur's opportunity?
If Shedeur can't beat out Deshaun Watson in camp,
that tells you everything.
Then you have your answer.
Yeah,
with the shoulder injury to Achilles.
This is Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been good since 2020. When he's played in Cleveland, has been mediocre at best, and that is at best. Coming off multiple Achilles tears, a shoulder injury that a quarterback, to our knowledge, has never had before and come back from. He didn't look like the same quarterback, and we can argue, was it Stefanski in that system? Was he just shot? Were the mental issues too much? To me, it was all the above encompassed into one. He looked like he was processing slow mentally. His arm didn't look the same. He didn't look as explosive of an athlete as he had in Houston. And now you're telling me all of a sudden, after not playing good football in over a presidential term and a half, he's going to come back and all of a sudden be the 2020 version of Deshaun the Browns gave up all those assets and gave $230 million guaranteed to. I just don't see a world where that's possible. But to your initial point, I do think there were conversations about Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders in all of those interview rooms, and the Browns hired the person they thought could get the best out of their quarterback situation.
I talked right after he was hired. I talked to a former quarterback of his, just, hey, what do you think? And he said he has had so much success at every level with quarterbacks of all different skill types. Just watch, he can. And I think that's part of the reason why he is here, to Nick's point. They hired Todd Monken because they think Todd Monken could get the most out of whoever is that quarterback, whether that's Shedeur, whether that's Deshaun. He's the kind of guy that can come in, mold the offense to the quarterback and get the most out of him. And nothing against Kevin, but I was told by guys in the league that Kevin's offense is so particular, you have to play an exact certain way for it to have success. Todd seems like he's the opposite of that, where he's like, I'm going to make the offense fit the player, which I think really speaks to what kind of coach the Browns are getting. But I thought about this driving in. What is the worst case scenario for the Browns quarterback position in this coming season? Is it Deshaun Watson plays really well and all of a sudden, are you going to sign him to another contract and you've now played yourself out of being able to select one of those great future quarterbacks? I really don't think that they're ready to move on from Deshaun Watson, but
I don't, because they've invested so much into him.
I'm with Nick.
I feel like ownership has invested so much in this guy, even though they've admitted we've swung and missed. They've said that.
Yes.
There is still a part of them that wants to say, you know what? We're going to try to still make this work. There is something in their heads that makes them think that he can still be fixed, that you can rectify this.
I have never been blessed with the opportunity to work a job where I had money to buy a Lamborghini. When I eventually have enough money to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a car of that stature.
Yeah, don't buy them. They're overrated.
I'm never selling. I'm fixing it the 323rd time that the check engine light goes off.
Yeah, that's
I'm
my
still
point.
taking it back to the auto mechanic shop. Why? Because I made that investment and that was my prize toy.
That's right.
The Browns and Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam, Deshaun's their Lamborghini in this instance.
Absolutely.
And I do believe, despite the fact that they have admitted forefront to the public, on record, it was a swing and miss, are going to give this guy every opportunity to prove their initial investment right. And that may not be the smart choice. That may not be the right choice. I would much rather personally see Shedeur Sanders get a chance to be the quarterback this year and see if he can become the franchise quarterback for this team moving forward. But to think that Deshaun's not going to factor into this decision somehow, some way, into this quarterback battle is ludicrous. And Zach Jackson from The Athletic was sitting in your chair last week, Chris, and he said there are people in Berea pushing, or at least nudging, that Deshaun Watson is going to be a legitimate factor in this quarterback competition narrative, not just locally, but to Adam Schefter and to Albert Breer and to Pat McAfee. And there's a reason those shows are talking about Deshaun Watson, despite the fact he didn't play a single snap for the Browns last year, and to my point earlier, hasn't been a high-level NFL quarterback since I was 26 years old. And I'm not young anymore. My knees creak and hurt. That's how long it's been.
What's the NFL stand for, right? Not for long.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like, and Dustin's seen it before too, coaches have been in 1 year and out, right? And this is Todd Monken's opportunity here, okay? He feels like he's got to put something up right away. I mean, would it surprise any of us if they got rid of him after one season, given ownership and the history of things?
Nothing would surprise me with this organization.
So I think Todd Monken says, I need the guy who's going to give me the best opportunity to win. And the interesting thing, to go back to what Dustin said earlier, well, what do you do if he starts playing well? I mean, think about where we're at with the Browns. That's our worry. Wait, what if this guy actually is okay? And I don't know, we maybe go to the playoffs.
Winning's good. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Sure, it's like a defeatist mentality. I know, Dustin, what you're saying, that you need to build it the right way. You want to, you have a system. He might not have time for this. We're seeing the introductory press conference. We might be at another one next year.
I think he's definitely going to play whoever gives him the best chance. I mean, the guy came here, like you said, he doesn't want to be a one and done. He wants to have an opportunity to win and turn this franchise around, and that's going to be through playing the best quarterback that he feels like gives him a chance to run the offense he wants. If it's Deshaun, then so be it. We'll see. I guess I'm just concerned that the organization, if Deshaun does start and plays well, like, they need to really be sure on this guy. If like long term.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. It'd be great to get some wins this year, Mike, for the 2026 season. I understand all of that. But, man, you don't want to be tied to this guy for another 4 years. after this, just because he plays okay.
And
he has to be exceptional.
He could be a stopgap, because maybe, and sorry to the Shedeur crowd, maybe he's not your franchise quarterback.
Don't say it too loud.
And he might not. So we don't know. That's the thing. The Browns don't know. We don't know if he's a franchise quarterback. So you might be going to draft your quarterback next year. So if Watson gives you a chance right now to win some games, why not?
But is winning too many games going to take you out of being able to draft that quarterback? We're right back.
Welcome to the
in
cycle.
Cleveland.
Yes.
Since 1999, this is what we've been dealing with.
It's a fair question, but at the end of the day, at some point, it's a new head coach. It's a new regime. They are not coming in, and Todd Monken at 60 years old now, in his first head coaching job, isn't coming in and saying, yeah, I'm okay just being terrible my first year. I'm not going to build my culture because next year we may have a chance to draft a quarterback.
Bingo.
When there are a bunch of other teams that are going to be in the exact same position. The New York Jets just traded for Geno Smith, right? They have 3 first-round picks next year. If it's a race and ammunition to get up to that first pick to take an Arch Manning or a Dante Moore or whoever, the Jets are outgunned you. You're outmanned already. So
this is a
you
results
got
business.
you gotta play to win.
I understand trying to build it the right way. They've tried every which way they can. At some point, you have to win football games on Sundays. What are we doing here? Kevin Stefanski's gone. He's fired. He's with a new team because he didn't
win
do
football
it.
games.
I mean, ultimately, you got to do it at some point. I understand trying to build it the right way and trying to have your O-line and set and trying to get the quarterback, but man, at some point, it's like rebuild city here. For how long?
Dustin, question for you.
Yes.
The initial part of this was Nick thinking that Todd Monken convinced ownership that he
thinks
could
I'm
fix.
crazy.
I don't.
No.
Trust me. I don't think you're crazy.
Jason told
I know
us
you're crazy.
Jason told us the story that Todd Monken was the only one to recruit Nick Mullins at Southern Miss. And he said he saw something in him on the recruiting trail. He was an under-recruited kid. Obviously turns out to have an NFL career. Monken has that history and track record with quarterbacks. Do you believe the confidence that a coach can have in his own ability to develop a certain position, in this case Monken and quarterbacks, can translate to a completely new situation with a completely new array of clay to mold that comes with a bunch of scars in Deshaun and an uncertainty in what Dylan and Shedeur can be moving
I feel
forward?
like your ability to mold a player, especially a quarterback, goes beyond just like your X's and O's. I think you have to have the ability to coach different styles of players and different types of personalities and be able to put them in a position to make them comfortable. And whether it be Shedeur or Deshaun or Dylan, I mean, whoever ends up playing as the starter this year, I think that Monken's definitely gonna have a role in shaping that guy. I mean, and by the way, Deshaun is a veteran in this league. He's been around a long time, but he needs to sort of remold his career
100%.
if he's trying to play in this league. Sure. And Shedeur, he's trying to figure out his way. Same with Dylan Gabriel. Like, those guys are young, and frankly, that is it allows Monken, I think, to mold them. They're like Play-Doh right now. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he has confidence in his ability. I mean, Nick Saban would tell you right now that he feels very confident in his ability to coach defensive backs.
Yeah.
Todd Monken knows how to coach quarterbacks, so that's a good thing.
Chris, you buy the same thing?
Absolutely, because that's what got him here. When he was at Georgia, he took a Stetson Bennett and helped them win national championships. He's taken guys.
Miracle.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
He's taken guys that had success at multiple levels now. So I think you have to believe that he's going to be able to do that. And if he is, another part of this that we haven't talked about, if Deshaun Watson, and he's able to work a miracle again, and he's able to play well, maybe a quarterback-needy team is willing to trade and take on some of that dead money. And maybe they're able to work something out, and then they can move off of him officially. But I believe that he is here, to Nick's point, to mold a quarterback and get the quarterback position right. I'm not going to agree it's Deshaun. It might be Shedeur. It might be Dylan Gabriel, for all we know. It's going to play out on the field, and what Monken has said time and time again, at least at the Combine when we interviewed him, he said, you can't make these decisions now. It has to work out when it works out. And I like that he's going to wait and let the players work it out, and I think that's why he's not been committal to Shedeur, is because he wants Shedeur to go out and earn it. And if Shedeur earns it, he's going to play him because that's the guy that's going to give him the best case to win.
I know it's not sexy to talk about, but the bottom line is, too, you got to be able to run the football. You got to rebuild this offensive line, which, to their credit, they're finally doing. They were beat up and old on that O-line. We're talking so much quarterback, but you have to run the ball. You have to stop the run. You have to create this system of your own to build a winning organization, a winning team. And I know we have talked so much quarterback till we're blue in the face since 1999, but you have to build it the right way, and it starts on the O-line.
Earl, what do you think about this topic? Are you buying the fact that Monken may have convinced ownership he can save Deshaun, or Is Nick coming in here 0 for 1 in his first take and first
I
segment?
think my
on
man
UCSS?
Nick is 0 for 1 on his first day. But it's all right. It's all right. Nick didn't know better. He ain't understand the inside. You know what I mean? Welcome to UCSS when you get the pushback. I got to push back on what Chris said a little bit too, because even though I don't think it's going to be Deshaun Watson, I think you alluded to a worst case scenario is Deshaun Watson starts and the Browns win so many games that they're out of being able to pick a top quarterback. Most, if not all of us that's sitting in this building are Cleveland Browns fans. So there's no worst case scenario that ends with the Browns winning games, right? Like, I am in the camp of I can care less who it is, how it gets done. I am born in the city of Cleveland. I was a fan of this football team before a lot of these dudes, all these dudes that were playing on this team now were even born. So if that's the case, I'm going to be a fan of this team when their tenure is over with. We finally have a head coach here who's got a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, and then he has a sound plan, X's and O's, to go along with that. Everybody keep making this notion of him being 60 years old and first-time head coach. Okay, yeah, first-time head coach, but 30-plus years of overall coaching experience. He's not trying to come in here and lose. Those guys in that locker room are not trying to lose. Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam is walking around like they should have won more than 5 games last year. And so the fact that they hired Todd Monken tells me that they believe in his ability to put together an offensive system that allows his players to play fast and free, not some, raw potential future coaching guru like we talked about with the shield houses and et cetera that you got to kind of grow with. He's looking at this like, no, this man means business, and he's going to get the most out of this football team to try to win. Now, last point for me, we got to start listening to what these execs and what these coaches say. He told us clear as day at the combine, this is going to play itself out. The best quarterback in the building is going to tell me who I need to put on the field. And so I get it. We got to do these topics, but active listening, and he's telling us everything of how this thing going to go.
Earl, I can't listen all the time because I've been lied to way too many times in those press conferences by front office people, whether it's with the Guardians, the Browns, or the Cavs. I mean, sometimes they don't even tell you the truth of what they're saying a lot of times because they're not going to tell us everything.
So if you want the truth, that's why you listen to us here on UCSS. And
Right.
we're not always right, but we're honest. And we're honestly wrong at times, too.